And here we are on the legendary Santa Fe Trail. This is how the earliest settlers of this area traveled across the prairie.
This very road, huh?
Yes, and this is what we will be exploring today. And as you can see from the arrow, it begins right down this direction. And our journey also begins this direction.
Hope you brought your tinnies.
Oh, I got my tinnies on. Don't worry about that. And let's see what we have up here. How exciting to be on the Old West original Santa Fe Trail. This is where the cowboys, the settlers, and the pioneers, they hitched their wagons and pulled their cattle and oxen right down this trail.
Wow.
And I believe we may even have a map up here. Let's see what it says.
Map made of stone.
Yeah, it's a map carved in stone.
A map carved in stone.
As you can see, the Cottonwood River, which we have visited, cuts right through this direction. We have the Chisholm Trail, which we also have explored, going right down through here. And cutting across this way, beginning from the northeast and going southwest, is the Santa Fe Trail. From 1822 to 1872, this was the primary mode of transportation across the central United States. You can even see wagon ruts, old campsites. Who knows what we may find? Just take a look here. Santa Fe Trail, historic trails information. And I believe there's a map provided right in this box. That one's a little dusty. See if we can do better than that. Here we are, a self-guided auto tour. I think we're all set. Yes, I think we have a great adventure waiting for us. Are you ready to pull the trigger on this thing?
Yeah!
Let's go for it. Hello and welcome to Lyons, a medium-sized town in central Kansas with a population of 3,000. Lyons sits directly on roads and highways which used to be called the Santa Fe Trail, a trade route from Missouri to New Mexico, which for 50 years was the only somewhat traversable passage across the Great Plains. Lyons is also home to the Coronado and Quivira Museum, a learning center with historical exhibits dedicated to the famous expedition of the 1500s. You see, the town of Lyons sits on the northernmost edge of a mythical land the Spanish called Quivira. It began in 1540, when Native Americans captured in New Mexico were interrogated by Spanish explorers on a quest for gold. The natives told them that far away to the north was a magic kingdom with 7 cities, filled with riches beyond imagination. The king of this land slept beneath a magic tree ornamented with little golden bells, and the people there had so much gold they used it for common utensils like pots and bowls. But the natives also warned that finding these 7 cities of gold would be no easy task, because the Quivirans' magic was strong, and they had the power to appear and disappear like phantoms. In 1540, Spanish explorer Francisco Vasquez de Coronado led 400 armed men on a 2-year journey to find the land of gold, accompanied by 4 Franciscan friars who brought the church's blessing. In the spring of 1541, they arrived in what is now known as central Kansas and discovered rivers, streams, and succulent grasslands. but no cities and no riches. Eventually, the crusade encountered a village of strangely dressed people, living in what looked like giant birds' nests or beehives. An increasingly agitated Coronado showed the people examples of gold jewelry and said he wanted it. But they had no idea what he was talking about. For 25 days, the Spanish army rode in circles around the Great Plains, until Coronado finally, hopelessly realized that Quivira was a fairy tale. Defeated and dejected, Coronado and his troops began the long journey home. Halfway along the trip, however, one of the clergymen, named Juan de Padilla, changed his mind and said he was going back to Quivira to build the first church in America. The following year, he was killed by Native Americans, making him the first Christian martyr in American history. He may also be the first recorded ghost in American history. There is a persisting legend that when Friar Padilla's body was prepared for burial, his coffin rose from the ground and levitated in the air. The Catholic Church has no official position on this story, other than to say Friar Padilla is incorruptible due to his lofty status as proto-martyr of the New World. Just outside Lyons city limits is a mound of earth where legend holds Friar Padilla was struck down, and a 30-foot cross stands where many believe he is risen from the dead. Upon careful research, it becomes clear, however, that this account is sometimes conflated with another Juan Padilla, who died in Isleta, New Mexico, and yet was seen alive, walking and talking days later. A Catholic official named Arthur Ducre attempted to resolve this hysteria by opening Padilla's casket with a crowbar to see if he was indeed in there or not. But unfortunately, the crowbar slipped while he was opening it and badly injured Ducre, where, as he was lying on the floor, prayed for Juan Padilla's forgiveness for doubting him and was miraculously healed. Also outside Lyons city limits is an historical marker denoting the Great Uprising of 1864, when select factions from the Kiowa, Apache, Comanche, Arapaho, and Cheyenne tribes formed a loose alliance and attempted one last major revolt against the farmers of Kansas. For over a month, homesteaders stood guard at their windows with rifles, as it was too dangerous to even leave their houses. Until an emergency arose in Marion, Kansas, on July 20th, when a woman named Mrs. Moore fell gravely ill, and the tiny village had no doctors and no medicine available. A brave young man named Ed Miller said he would take the fastest horse in town and ride 30 miles to the nearest doctor at present-day McPherson, Kansas. A few days later, Mrs. Moore's sudden illness waned and she survived. But Ed Miller did not return. A group of heavily armed men of town ventured out and found Ed Miller in a field by the Santa Fe Trail, where he dropped from his horse after being hit with multiple arrows. The group of men decided to quickly dig a grave and bury him on the spot, which later became known as Jones's Cemetery. As they gathered around his plot, they decided to get out a Bible and say a few words in his memory. But before they could finish, they saw something in the distance. A large column of black smoke rising in the western sky. And then, one of the men saw something else. A small spindle of dust on the Santa Fe Trail, with a larger plumage behind it. The men readied their weapons and took position for an attacking war party. But then they saw it was a covered wagon, racing down the trail and coming to a stop right before them, where a man came stumbling out and almost collapsed. He said he had barely escaped from the settlement of Lyons, which was now on fire and overrun by Kiowas. The siege at Lyons, Kansas began a week earlier, in what is now known as the Battle of Cow Creek. The creek is a feed stream of the mighty Arkansas River, and at the time was the only possible passage for caravans of wagons crossing the Great Prairie. At the water's edge was Cow Creek Station, a central stopping place for wagon trains. It had a ranch and cattle pen, a supply store, a deep freshwater well, and most importantly, a sturdy bridge for wagons to cross. But one day in mid-July, a huge volley of arrows came flying from the tree line on the far side of the creek. It was the Kiowas, a band of Native Americans who for months had been stealing cattle and ambushing wagon trains. But no one could figure out how the invisible enemy, as they were known, were doing it. They appeared out of nowhere and just as quickly returned to thin air again. And no one could figure out how. But this time it was different. Cow Creek Ranch was fortified and well prepared. In a follow-up attack, the natives sent another volley of flaming arrows this time. But the cowboys and ranchers of Lyons had sod bunkers prepared, dug below ground with gun sights for shooting. The attack was frustrated, and the standoff on both sides went on for days. Until suddenly, one afternoon, smoke began rising from the tree line on the opposite side of the creek. "Look," they said, "the Kiowas accidentally set their camp on fire." "No, don't fall for it," a voice said as a tall man stepped forward. "It's a trick. Get down." The man who stepped forward was Buffalo Bill Mathewson, not at all to be confused with Buffalo Bill Cody. Mathewson was a mortal enemy of the beloved Western hero William Cody, and even tried to kill him on a couple of occasions by taking pot shots at him from a long distance. Bill Mathewson was like an evil mirror image of Cody. When Buffalo Bill Cody became famous for shooting 70 buffalo in one day, Mathewson bragged that he routinely killed 80 buffalo a day. But unlike Cody, who hunted only to feed the hungry, Mathewson would hunt buffalo for the violence. And whereas Buffalo Bill Cody was known far and wide for his chivalry, Buffalo Bill Mathewson was reviled for his cruelty towards others. At a poker table in Wichita, he once beat a native named White Bear within an inch of his life over a debt of a few dollars. And then he took his horse and forced him and his family into indentured servitude until he felt the debt was paid off. And on this sweltering July day, he stood boldly on the shore of Cow Creek and warned the other cowboys, "It's a smoke screen. The Kiowas are planning to rush across the bridge and attack. Get back, everyone." As he predicted, within moments the Kiowa warriors began rushing across the bridge. But Buffalo Bill rolled out a little surprise for them. It was a howitzer field cannon, and he aimed it in the direction of the bridge and lit the fuse. Psst! Kaboom! The bridge exploded, and countless Kiowas went flying in the air. The cowboys began celebrating with laughter and mockery. Across the creek, they saw Chief Kicking Bird standing in astonishment at what he had just witnessed, the last avenue of their attack being obliterated. The cowboys continued rejoicing as Kicking Bird sat down on the creek bed and began picking flowers. And they barely took note as he began braiding the flowers into a long necklace. And while he worked, he whistled a tune, and a bird came and sat down next to him. Then he took a piece of flint from his pocket and lit the flower wreath on fire, as the bird picked it up and flew away with it, and then dropped it on the other side of the creek. Other Kiowas started doing this too, lighting wreaths with fire and attaching them to birds who carried them east towards the enemy. Within moments, grass fires were everywhere, more than the settlers could stamp out. And in this chaos, the Kiowas mounted their horses and charged over the river. As flames engulfed the Cow Creek station, the citizens of Lyons had no choice but to flee for their lives. In a matter of just a few chaotic moments, the outpost had fallen to the Kiowa Nation. The greatest setback of the day was several dozen head of cattle, which the homesteaders of Lyons had kept in a community pen at Cow Creek. It was simply too much of a loss to bear, and so the next day, Buffalo Bill volunteered to go back and try to negotiate a ransom. And with a white flag, he was led into the chief's teepee. "Let me guess," said Kicking Bird. "You're here because you want the cows back." "Actually, Chief, I want you to have all the livestock in this entire county. All of it." Said Kicking Bird. "Well, I don't think the settlers will like that at all." "Well, that's where the deal gets even better for you. I'm gonna get rid of the settlers for you too." Yes, it was a double cross. Buffalo Bill had gone there in a scheme against the homesteaders. He had blown up the Cow Creek Bridge so that he could build his own bridge later, a toll bridge. In exchange for exclusive rights to the creek crossing, the freshwater well, and the Santa Fe Trail itself, Bill said the Kiowas could keep all the livestock in the county. And all you want is that path of dirt going up to the water?" said Kicking Bird. "Well, there is one other thing I was curious about. Your soldiers. They move around like ghosts and attack like phantoms. I want you to tell me how." Kicking Bird smiled coyly and said, "Follow me." He went outside the teepee and picked up a buffalo hide and climbed into it like a suit of clothing. Then he got down on all fours. "You see, when you do this, they think you're a baby buffalo." Instantly, Bill Mathewson realized this is how the Kiowas did it. They disguised as buffaloes and would even blend in with the herd and hide behind them as they readied to attack wagon trains. A guerrilla tactic Buffalo Bill would put to good use. As the Kiowas retreated per their secret arrangement with Mathewson, and life on the range normalized again, individual ranchers began going missing, one after another after another. It seemed back at the time that the Kiowas must have been kidnapping them, but now it's believed that Buffalo Bill was bumping them off, perhaps disguised in a ghillie suit or hiding behind cattle as he had learned from the Native Americans. Territory law made it easy for buyers to acquire the homesteads of those declared dead or missing. And within 2 years, Mathewson held claim to all the lands in Rice County on which the Santa Fe Trail crossed, including what is now known as Cow Creek Station and Buffalo Bill's Well. And it was his plan to charge hefty prices to anyone traveling through central Kansas, making him a very rich man. But, in a cruel twist of irony, it never came to be. Just a few years later, several railroad lines were built spanning the entire state. The old Santa Fe Trail fell into disuse and was quickly forgotten. No one needed Buffalo Bill or his well. They say that Bill Mathewson built a log cabin in the woods behind Cow Creek and lived out his old age, watching and waiting for fortunes that never came, and knowing that his wicked works were all for naught. It seems the ill-gotten gains of Kicking Bird were short-lived too. The army eventually recaptured the 400 head of stolen cattle, and the chief was taken to confinement at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. where once again he was offered a bargain. He could retain his title and his freedom if he would list the name and location of all hostile natives on the Great Plains. Shockingly, Kicking Bird wrote down the names of his closest friends and family. Not long afterward, Kicking Bird complained that his heart was hurting, and he wanted to go down to the river to cool off. When he returned, he drank a cup of coffee and then fell down dead. Kicking Bird was 40 years old. Shortly afterward, the Kiowa medicine man Skywalker also collapsed and died at age 40. In Kiowa mythology, a mage can only curse his fellow man at the cost of knowing the same hex will be visited upon himself. Today, in modern times, many people believe the bridge at Cow Creek is haunted. There are folk tales of voices and screams coming from the pit of the now derelict well, where an embittered Buffalo Bill is said to have discarded the skeletons of his victims. And there are stories of an old ghost where Mathewson made his house by the creek, and sounds of an old man blacksmithing in the tree line. And now this weekend, we'll be going on a special journey through central Kansas, beginning in McPherson County, to tour what's left of the old Santa Fe Trail, and then traveling west to Lyons and Rice County, to visit the spot where Friar Juan Padilla is said to be buried. The mound and the cross are a place of pilgrimage for many Catholic faithful who say they have seen the friar walk the earth, adorned in God's iridescent glory, much like St. Peter's vision of the transfigured Jesus conversing with Elijah and Moses. From there, we will continue south to Stafford County to explore a 30 square mile area the Spanish once called Quivira. It must be noted that although mainstream society considers Quivira to be a mythological place, the Native Americans of Kansas do not, and never have. The Great Plains tribes say that hundreds of years ago, central Kansas was home to the raccoon people. And in many Great Plains traditions, the raccoon signifies elusiveness. In another exciting development, a large design of a serpent in aerial photos was found in the Quivira National Grassland. Who carved out this design back in ancient times, or for what reason, is still unknown. What we do know is this weekend promises to be full of magic and mystery. And we hope that you will come along today as we try to discover for ourselves the legend of Quivira. Well, the adventure is beginning today.
It's a beautiful day.
Yes, not a cloud in the sky.
Goodbye, winter. So long.
Not a raindrop to be seen.
Mwah. Hello, spring.
How interesting to be on the Old Western Trail here. The Old Western Trail. Right now we're in McPherson County, and this is a place called Jones Cemetery. A lot of old Western pioneers buried between these trees. Come, have a look. Kind of an eerie spot.
It's like these trees are the protector of this cemetery. They're like, we are here to protect this very important site.
Goodness, what happened here?
Oh my goodness.
Here's some episode occurred. Right here, this gate is devastated.
Wow.
Something careened against this. Look at this.
My
Something
goodness.
smashed into that. the very old graveyard dating back to the 1800s, the mid-1800s. Right, there is a strangeness about it, that it's almost walled off by trees.
Yes.
It's like the trees are standing here watching us.
Maybe the spirits live in these trees like monkeys do.
Well, it's almost like these are guardians.
Yes.
Very old headstones here. Look at this. That one's almost shaped like a spoon.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen one like
I have
that?
not.
Juliana, here come the military choppers again.
Okay, the ones that were hovering?
Yes. This is the third time that we have seen these choppers in the past 24 hours. They're hovering over this area.
Here they come. They're gonna come right over here.
We don't know what they're doing out here. We've seen these same two black choppers 3 times in the last 24 hours, circling farm fields. It's like they're looking for something. Incredible machines. I didn't see any markings on those. You almost wonder if it's special ops.
It's not private, that's for sure.
Yes, we already have some mysteries going on this morning.
I had a piece that went on the top of it.
Let's see if we can replace that out of respect for
Yes, it fell over.
the people here. I think this has been weather damaged. I don't think this cemetery gets many visitors.
It's very sad.
The person buried here is named Sarah.
Sarah, you have a lovely marker.
You have a beautiful cemetery here. We want you to know all of you are appreciated. Remarkable headstone. Yes, this also has fallen over. I don't think we can do anything for this stone. Yes, there is something about being surrounded by these trees. So unusual. It's like they're facing you. You may find this interesting over here. During the summer of 1864 was the Great Uprising, in which the Native American tribes all assembled together and did a full-on attack. And over here we have the grave marker of Ed Miller, a young hero. He gave his life to try to help a sick woman. The first of many men that summer who would go down in a blaze of glory. Love that castle.
Wow.
Look at the stonework on this building, my word. Look at the stonework on this building, it's incredible. This is the McPherson County Courthouse. That's the one.
Is that where Princess lives?
Hey, it'd be fun to go to the top of that tower. And I believe it's this way to Tres Amigos. Hey, the monster burrito is $10.99. Hey, I think we have some great things on the menu here.
Oh, look, it's the Tres Amigos.
Yes, the Tres Amigos.
Amigos, yes.
Wow, these dinner platters. Looks so good. Wow, these combinations too. Oh, I love this. Taco salad. Burrito Mexicano. Oh, those nachos though. Wow. I love it here.
Me too.
I just love warm chips and salsa. Chili Colorado, you've gotten that before.
Oh my gosh, that's the exact one I was looking at when you said that.
Quesadilla Tres Amigos. Oh no, wait, I got mixed up. I always confuse quesadillas with fajitas. Yes. Hey, come on now. You didn't come here to do the two-step. It's called the Tootsie Roll two-step. Well, I am loving the super burrito, but how is that chili verde?
Crispy edges, as you can see.
Yes, I say crispy edges every time. No, the thing about chili verde is you do not want it soggy because it's something that can turn to mush. Perfect. I didn't even have to special order anything. This is the special of the day.
Oh, wow.
Special of the day. And did you see the size of this? Even I can't finish this.
That's a big one.
Even I can't finish this. And the nice touch is they add a little oregano in the chips and salsa here. Not too much. Fun cups.
So 90s arcade.
What a dinner. Let me tell you, this is a great lunch. Yes.
Lunch was wonderful. Tres Amigos is the place to go for lunch.
Yes, we love Tres Amigos. We love this lunch.
Bag. I got leftover Mexican food.
Hey, that's gonna make a handy snack later.
Wow, it's cool. This is where I would come hang out.
Oh, this is a good hangout for you, huh?
Yeah.
I would love to be up in that belfry. I'm thinking that little room in the courthouse would be a perfect place for the Phantom to appear. The Seven Cities of Gold began as a myth that was popular in Mesoamerica in the 1500s. Approximately 500 years ago, Spanish-speaking people in what is now called Mexico began to hear rumors of a place called Cibola, an oasis of wealth located across the desert, hundreds of miles to the north. The stories may have had their genesis in an early Portuguese legend about 7 cities founded on the Phantom Island of Antilla, sometimes associated with the ancient Greek story of Atlantis. This Iberian folktale is set during the Mid-Eastern conquest of Spain in 714, when 7 Visigoth bishops fled with their congregation into boats and sailed far away into the western Atlantic Ocean, eventually landing on a distant island and starting 7 brand new cities. The Phantom Island made its first appearance on nautical maps in 1424, and later, in 1492, Columbus himself based part of his sea charts on reports from an old sailor in Madeira, Spain, who said he had once landed on the fabled island and lived to tell the tale. By the 1490s, the seafaring story had expanded to include reports of silver beneath the island sands. And a few years later, the tale traveled the globe and gave rise to the Mexican fantasy of 7 cities of riches somewhere in North America, along with a fountain of youth somewhere in Florida, and the hidden empire of El Dorado somewhere in Latin America. The legend was rekindled again in 1527 when a colonist boat en route to Mexico shipwrecked off the coast of Texas. And the only 4 survivors said they met an unknown people in mainland America, adorned in suits of solid gold. The legend reached its flashpoint in 1539 when a Franciscan friar who got lost in the Mexican desert and accidentally wandered beyond the Rio Grande was kidnapped by American Indians. He was later released and somehow found his way home. But while in captivity, he said that the American Indians took him to a tall hill where he saw a civilization rivaling the size and power of Mexico City itself. The governor of New Galicia, a Spanish lord named Francisco Coronado, upon hearing the friar's harrowing account, dispatched 15 horsemen to go investigate. The sojourners crossed into what is now the United States and discovered the pueblos of the Southwest, where they found fabulous turquoise jewelry, but no precious metals were seen. However, the Pueblans told the Spanish that 950 leagues northeast they would find the 7 cities of legend they sought. The horsemen continued north a great distance until they were surprised to encounter snow and had to turn back, whereupon they reported to Coronado no cities were discovered, but they did find the most rich and bountiful lands they had ever seen, surpassing even the Spanish countryside itself. And so the dream gained new life. In the 20th century, the legend of Quivira made its way to Hollywood in the 1958 movie The Lone Ranger and the Lost City of Gold, starring Clayton Moore and Jay Silverheels from the popular TV series of the same name. In this big screen adventure, Tonto and the Lone Ranger investigate the murders of 3 men who possessed ancient silver medallions, which when combined formed a treasure map to the lost kingdom of gold. Eventually, Tonto and the Lone Ranger discover the lost city of gold concealed in a canyon and donate its riches to local Native Americans to build a hospital. Another Silver Age classic set in central Kansas is the 1940 film Santa Fe Trail, starring Ronald Reagan and Errol Flynn. This incredible movie features a scene where General George Armstrong Custer rescues travelers on the Underground Railroad from a burning building, at the same time competing for the affections of gunfighter Kit Carson, who in this reality is played by a woman and is the romantic lead of the film. Many of you may remember the 1989 blockbuster Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which opened somewhere in the American West, where a young Indiana Jones leaves his Boy Scout troop to steal back the Golden Cross of Coronado from cave robbers. It's an interesting twist that in the 5 centuries that elapsed since the days of the conquerors, most of the Old West treasure maps in existence feature not dreamed of riches, but actual Spanish forged gold, which ended up disappearing beneath the sands of time, as it seems it usually does. All right, we are continuing our journey down the Santa Fe Trail. All right, our new device is the Meteric. This is a ghost detecting utensil. Why don't you show us how it works?
All right, let's see here.
This is a beautiful machine.
Electromagnetic field tester.
There we are. And we're going to be utilizing this to see if there's any unusual signals or readings at the haunted well. And we have another historical marker here.
Cow Creek Station.
1 mile south is the hand-dug well that served the U.S. Cavalry and the Santa Fe Trail for travelers in the 1860s. For 5 days in July 1864, 600 Indians besieged the trading post near the well and a wagon train nearby. When the attackers tried to overrun the post, Buffalo Bill Mathewson fired a field cannon into the midst of several on horseback and afoot, ending the siege.
Wow.
A later Buffalo Bill, William F. Cody, worked at the site briefly before moving in 1867 to Ellsworth, where he gained the cognomen by killing buffalo for railroad workers. You see, there's two different Buffalo Bills that ended up right here. There was the darker Buffalo Bill and then the happier Buffalo Bill. And they both, by chance, ended up here.
So one was like a hero and one wasn't.
Exactly. In fact, they were enemies.
What?
Buffalo Bill Mathewson and Buffalo Bill Cody did not like each other.
I didn't even know that there was two Buffalo Bills until right now.
Well, there's the famous Buffalo Bill who was something of a hero to a lot of people. And then the darker Buffalo Bill who made a lot of enemies in this territory. And he didn't play so nice. He didn't play so nice.
Wow.
And as you can see there, he fired a cannon at people. So
Yeah, that.
he's a rough and tough hombre. I'm concocting a theory. Listen softly. Do you hear something?
Drilling?
There is an oil well pump over here. If someone were to come here during the night and not know that this machine is running perhaps 100 yards away,
Oh, I do understand what.
could that almost sound like something? Yes, it's an ooh. It's a machine sound, an occasional clank. Interesting, interesting. We may be putting together a plausible theory.
There's a signal. Signal's coming in. The signal just started going crazy.
Really?
Now it's gone. Oh, wait, hold on.
I did, but I thought that was your cell phone.
I think my cell phone, because I had my cell phone in my hand, it might have triggered it.
You think the lithium battery in your cell phone set that off? I think that's what happened.
I got excited.
We had a false alarm. False alarm. Well, I think we have had a very eventful visit to Buffalo Bill's well and the Cow Creek Station. And we have possibly uncovered some very interesting clues. First of all, as you can see, we used the thermo imaging gun around the top of the partially capped well and got some very powerful evidence there. It looked like a rush of cold air leaking from the top of the well. Maybe that's something other ghost investigators have mistaken for an apparition on the screen. The color differential there, it almost is ghost-like. It seems that below ground is cold, dark air that flows through the narrow opening up top and mixes with the heated air from the sunny, dusty roadside above. And it makes for some strange-looking thermosignatures. And if you were standing right there, it could almost feel like a ghost was creeping up on you. And of course, we noticed the creaky oil pump machine across the road too. And if you've ever been around those things, they really make a scary sound. And just about 100 feet away is Cow Creek itself. Kind of spooky, with lots of trees and vines, and a murder of black crows living underneath the bridge. Well, this has been fun, but now it's time to continue our expedition 10 miles south, because we may have just solved a ghost case, but the hunt for gold is just beginning. What you looking for? Trying to catch a frog?
Over here.
Yeah, here's some over here. trying to catch a ribbit, huh? It says, welcome to Quivira, National Wildlife Refuge. Ready to explore. And these are some of the strange creatures you may see here. Looks like that one has plenty of attitude. My goodness, look at that one. How big is that creature? This one looks fuzzy, maybe mischievous. What are you finding out there? I think you better give up on that dream. You're like Coronado, you're gonna have to give up. Hey, you don't have anything to put a frog in. I don't think you're gonna beat this creature in his own realm. Nice try, though. And along the way today, we've met a lot of birds that are really enjoying themselves. A lot of birds are having an A-OK day today. And this is the land which is known in mythology as Quivira.
Oh.
The Mexican conquistadors, nearly 500 years ago, spent weeks roaming around this land in search of the lost cities of gold.
There's not any lost cities of gold out here, though.
Not any that they could find.
They did find an ocean in the middle of Kansas.
Why don't we have a look? This is it. You wanted that gold, huh? So you would love to find a treasure box out here, huh?
Just for Sherman, though.
Oh, it's not for you, it's for someone else. Okay. You didn't want that treasure.
No, I don't.
The elusive cities of gold, which were proposed to be right in front of us. Somewhere in this vast expanse.
This is an actual photo from the 1880s.
Yep. Wow. Kansas Cowboys, circa 1880s.
How huge that holster is. They
Yeah.
always show these holsters like just on the side, like so convenient.
This guy was a big shot.
Wow! They got themselves some cigars.
Myth meets reality. Expecting a city filled with gold, Coronado found only scattered iron pyrites and copper in central Kansas. Looking for Quivira's fabled multi-story stone houses, he found the Wichita Indians' one-story, straw-roofed roundhouses. And you doing some sunbathing over here.
Acting like I'm Sherman in the window.
I don't think I've sunk that low yet. I haven't sunk that low yet. Wow,
Shot their gun into
someone
that.
shot their little pea shooter into that. Little gunshot there.
Look at this monster! Look at that! Oh my god, where is it there? Wow!
Huge that
that beast is. Goodness.
Oh my gosh. I can't even believe it. Look at this thing.
There's another one.
Oh my god.
Look at that beast. That is a gargantua. And over here we have the Migrants Mile Nature Trail. Just as the pioneers migrated across the prairies to find new homes and opportunities, today waterfowl and other wildlife have migrated to the marshes of the Quivira National Wildlife Refuge. And why don't we go visit them? Your eyes open for ducks, because this is where they love to hang out. Duck territory. And I think we have a map here. And we have a list of birds we might see. Little house on the pond. And watch ducks.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
I think he's eating something.
I've never seen an armadillo in my life. Oh my god, look at him.
There he goes. Uh-oh, I hope he didn't get stuck in that grass.
Oh my god, he's so cute.
Hello there.
Oh my god, he's so cute.
Looks like you are making a new buddy today.
Oh, look, he's not even worried about
I
it.
bet he's the one that's been digging the holes around here. Yep, that is him. He's the one that's been digging these potholes everywhere we go.
Bye, little guy.
Hey. Oh, he's back to business. Whoa, whoa!
Oh my
He
God.
can move. Come have a look up here. And here we have a bridge to a city of gold.
City of golden leaves? Make brooms out of back in the old
Yes.
days.
A room for an elf.
Yes.
A room for an elf.
Do some dusting with that. Wow, these things have to be what, 6 feet tall?
Oh yeah.
Well, everyone, I think we've made some incredible discoveries and come up with some pretty great clues on our adventure today. And after visiting the land of Quivira, I think some of you may have come to the same conclusions that we have. The whole lost city of gold thing may have been a big misunderstanding. The American Indians of the Great Plains had no knowledge of precious metals like gold. And when the Spanish said that they were seeking gold, The natives genuinely must have thought they meant the color gold. Golden fields of wheat, or prairie grass, or even sunshine itself, was the land of gold. Or things colored with gold paint, perhaps. The bowls and plates and musical bells may have been wooden objects painted with gold. You see, American Indians on the Great Plains used many colorful paints, including face paint. And it's very possible that the Pueblo Indians at some point encountered the American Indians of the Great Plains and saw them in some sort of war paint. And the moniker of the Raccoon people continued down through the ages. The 7 cities of Quivira may have also been a misunderstanding. You see, the American Indians of the Midwest did not live in cities. They lived in teepees. They lived in campsites that they would fold up and move when the buffalo herd moved. They would migrate along with the hunt. In the summer of 1541, it's entirely possible that the Spanish army was right on top of Quivira and just didn't know it, because the Quivirans weren't there. Whoever they were, whatever tribe they were, they had probably followed buffalo away for the summer when the buffalo roamed west, as they typically do. And later, when the Quivirans heard about the Spanish conquerors coming from the south, the tribe probably made an exodus north and set up a new campsite somewhere else, maybe in the Rocky Mountains. It's possible they even assimilated into other tribes. And so ended the kingdom of Quivira. And the Great Plains swallowed up any hint of their centuries spent there. And all that was left was the legend itself. The Great Prairie has a funny way of making or breaking people. Our modern world that we live in, all of it, everything we see around us, depended on people in covered wagons, crossing the Great Prairie, using dirty old trails, bumpy wagon wheels. And stories of men like Coronado, Buffalo Bill Mathewson, and Kicking Bird, who grasped at the fortunes of their imagination and gathered nothing to themselves but dust in the wind. The great irony in the war for the plains is that there was enough for everyone. There always was. And everything that lies before us is a gift from our great Creator. And if we spend 2 minutes a day giving thanks for it, we consider ourselves righteous. In reality, we're like babies. All we can do is take. We don't make any of it. We just take it. And the very least that all of us should do is share with others and show kindness to those around us. And all of you have been so kind to us. And we appreciate you, and we can't thank you enough. And we're so glad that you could join us on this amazing journey. And I think there's more adventures right around the corner for us. And you know, sometimes the best adventures are hidden right in front of you. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful weekend.